Hello everyone, welcome back to Silent Hill 2 remake. So what I'll do now, so I'll just continue where I left off. So we are in the hotel, Lakeview Hotel, and uh, let me check. Okay, so I'll have to. I'm in the reading room. Um, the area is completely dilapidated. Appears to be only one path. This is not a path. Okay. So clock there. That says 9:10. Maybe it's useful. Who knows? Well, that was scary. Okay, I'm guessing we have to get to the elevator somehow. Let's before we jump up here. No, we can't. No way to go out. Okay. Imagine this door is locked. Yeah.
She will not be cured. All that suffering. I'm no longer sure if it was of any use. If it meant anything at all. I can't say if it was newfound understanding. If there's any wisdom to be had in all that happened. I suppose that's for you to learn. And I hope you will.
Okay. Whatever that means, I don't really know. But wow, look at the lights. It's so like so creepy. The lighting in this game is and sometimes it's very strange. Like it's sort of like it's almost glitchy. Um, but other times it's done quite well. Okay, nothing here. Nothing here. No, that's blocked off. That's blocked. There's only one path to go. Okay, that's good. So yeah. I hope everyone's doing well. So that's the elevator. But it's been a long time since I played the original Silent Hill 2, so lots of things I don't remember, and I didn't play the game completely. We are at level 2. We can't press emergency. So it's been a long time since I played. I don't even remember the details of it. Because I only played some of the parts of the game. For a short period of time. Okay, it doesn't work. So we have to pry the door open. By running water, actually, so there is a critical height where running water becomes slower than swimming water. So it's about, I think it's like waist height or maybe it's chest height. I'm not entirely sure. So obviously it's different for different people. So if you're a very short person, it's not going to be the same height. But it's a percentage of the height of your body. Um, and above that, you want to swim. It's faster, especially if you're a good swimmer. Otherwise, moving like just running through water is gonna be slower, a much slower process. But if it's like knee-deep water, it's still better running through it. And once water gets above a certain level, you actually move really slowly. Like it's sort of start to have an exponentially difficult. It becomes exponentially difficult to move, like run through it. And if it's like um, neck height water, you better off swim in it. There's no way you can move quick in the water by just running. And it also becomes very very tiring to move through water if it's above neck height. So I think it's like chest or waist height is like the cutoff point between like running water or swimming. I don't know if it differs between salt water and fresh water, because salt water is just much easier to swim in. And if you swim in salt water, you're gonna have trouble swimming in fresh water. But if you swim in fresh water, you're gonna be alright. Because the salt water is much more buoyant. It's also apparently really hard to open doors when they're partially submerged. If they're partially submerging water, apparently. Okay, they give me a ton of ammo. So you know something big's about to go down. The rifle requires really good aiming in this game if you don't aim the rifle properly, and the rifle also, you see the crosshair moves while you're moving around. Um, See, the crosshair sort of moves. Another thing is, right, say your crosshair becomes larger, but if you have the pistol, it's not as bad. You can actually move and shoot. Same as a shotgun. Although the shotgun crosshair becomes a bit larger, but it's not as bad. But I don't actually know if the weapon spread is um, indicative of the machine shop. Okay, that looks interesting. Indicative of the, like, you know, the shotgun, the actual game spread, the actual spread of the shotgun.
Mama? Mama, I was looking for you. You're the only one left. Maybe then I can finally rest. Mama. What's wrong? Wait. You're not my mama. It's you.
Sorry, Angela. I think you were right. What we're looking for, it's not here. Not anymore.
Thank you for helping me earlier. But I wish you hadn't. Even Mama said it. I deserve what happened.
No, Angela, that is not true.
Don't pity me. I'm not worth it. Or maybe you think you can save me? Will you love me? Care for me? Heal all my pain? That's what I thought. James. Give me back the knife.
No, I won't.
Saving it for yourself. Have it your way. It doesn't change anything.
It's hot as hell in here.
You see it too? For me, it's always like this.
I'm guessing we finished with Angela's story arc. So Angela is um, obviously is traumatized by what happened and what she did to her father. Yeah, what she did to her father, as well as well, I'm guessing her father abused her, so after her father abused her, she then um, basically killed her father with a knife by stabbing him multiple times in the neck, and then yeah, and her mother basically did not forgive her for what she has done. So she's obviously traumatized by that. That's, I'm guessing, Angela's storyline, right? And she doesn't know how to sort of get past that, and she decides to, you know, I'm not gonna say the word. Alright, let's read the document. 312 to be cleared out. No one's returning. Ah, that's ominous. We're gonna get to a boss battle. This is so creepy. And look how high the ceiling is. That's really interesting, the way they designed it, right? They could make the ceiling lower so you can see sort of what's happening up the top. But because the way they make the ceiling high, it's very ominous, so you don't actually know what's happening, right? It's not just daunting, right? Like Resident Evil games are daunting, right? Because you don't really want to move forward, because you don't know what's happening, and you are constantly under pressure by managing your inventory, because you don't know whether to bring more weapons or more supplies or less supplies. But Silent Hill games has always been very ominous to me, like not just not daunting.
James!
Leave her alone. Leave us both the hell alone. I know what you are. I know why I needed you. But it's all over now. I don't need you anymore. I'm ready.
You throw weapons at me, huh? Okay, the rifle is not the best weapon for this particular. Well, I did try to melee them. You can actually melee them relatively easily, but the rifle is not a good choice to deal with them, unfortunately. Because the rifle had just gonna go around the room, see if there's any supplies we can take. Rusted colored eggs. Let's see. It's about the size of a fist. One of them was holding it. Scarlet egg. It's about the size of a fist. One of them was holding it. Both doors open to the same thing. I'm guessing that's just one of the boss battle. We'll have more boss battles later on.
What do you want, James? Flowers? I don't want any damn flowers. Just go home already. Look at me. I'm disgusting. Between the disease and the drugs, I look like a monster. Well, what are you looking at? Get the hell out of here. Leave me alone already. I'm no use to anyone. I'll be dead soon anyway. It'd be easier if they just killed me. But I guess the hospital's making a nice profit off of me. Why are you still here? I told you to go. Are you dead? Don't come back.
Oh, they definitely get. There's definitely a boss battle coming up. Definitely a boss battle coming up. 100%. They wouldn't give you all that ammo just so that you could, you know. All that ammo and health. I have plenty of health, so there's no way Pyramid Head's gonna get me. Ah, there we go. I knew it.
Mary?
James. I've been waiting. It's been so long. Didn't you want to see me?
Yes. More than anything. You're all I ever wanted.
That's not true. Is it?
Mary?
You killed me, James.
Yes. I did. I couldn't bear to see you suffer.
Don't make excuses. I know how you saw me, how you felt. You really hated me. Didn't you?
It's true, I may have had some of those feelings. It was a long 3 years. I was so tired.
I guess I understand. I know I was a burden. You wanted a long, happy life. Something I couldn't give. Can she?
Mary, please, if I could...
No, James. Those were the last precious moments I had. How could I ever forgive you?
Wow, okay. Okay, I didn't even know you can destroy them. I'm sure this is a multi-phase boss battle. Right.
James. 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 James.
That was not too difficult of a boss battle. I think that
James.
I think the difficulty was learning just a pattern.
What is this?
Is what you've been looking for.
Let's go.
Better do something about that cough.
You have Get New Game Plus, where you can play with access to additional items, graphic modes, and endings. I'm not entirely sure what ending I got. I guess I got Maria's ending, which is not what I was looking for. So, yeah. So if I do New Game, I can do default on New Game Plus. New Game Plus gives you access to additional items, graphic modes, and endings. Interface preset modern. Ammo displays off. Wow, there's a lot of graphics modes. So this default 90s pixelated 256. I guess that's what the PlayStation 1 maybe looked like. Black and white versus red. VHS, oh that's cool. Old CRT, I like that. Outline, green LUT. Wow, that's horrible. I would not do the last one though. The green one looks pretty cool. The VHS or the old CRT, it's worth like playing through. What about if you got New Game Plus? It's the same sort of thing. The default setting best represent the vision behind Silent Hill 2. See the setting below for more refined control of gameplay. You can find more options, include accessibility in the menu setting. Well, I guess that's the end of the game. I got Maria's ending, which is not what I kind of wanted to get, but I guess I'm not sure if it really, yeah, matters. So yeah, I don't actually know how the endings work. The only thing I know about the endings is I think there's 3 different endings. There's like a good ending and a bad ending. There's one where you just leave Silent Hill, and one that's like an ending that you sort of just goes away because one ending basically you have to just not use healing items. You have to wait as long as possible to use healing items. One, you just heal as often as possible. Towards the end, I used healing items like crazy because I had so many of them. There's no point keeping so many. I still had like 2 health drinks and like more than 10 health syringes at the very end, right? And with Maria's ending, basically you have to look after her, like basically not to get her attacked. She can't take really much damage. And on top of that, you should not have too much sidetracking, because the more sidetracking you do, the more enemies you encounter, the more likelihood that Maria is going to get injured. But I'm not sure whether sidetracking itself actually causes problems. Another thing is you have to listen to Maria's advice. If she says go this way, you should go this way. The idea of Maria's ending is that you have to take care of her, like she's like the new Mary sort of thing. And you have to also visit her constantly in the hospital, which I did. I actually did that not because I wanted to get her ending. I just wanted to see if there was any new cutscenes. Um, like I entered her room when at the end when she dies, but I'm not exactly. Again, I didn't know whether the cutscene matters, right? Um, but the thing is, Maria is ultimately like a construct of Silent Hill, so I'm not really sure she can leave Silent Hill per se. It's ominous at the end when she was coughing, right? It looks like she's getting ill. If she sort of goes outside of Silent Hill, and maybe she will eventually have to return to Silent Hill in order to get better, because she was trying to leave at the end, and James said you might want to get that cough looked at. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how it all works. I don't even know if that was a good or a bad ending. Yeah, but there's only a few endings that you can get on the new game, but new game plus you can get a lot of endings. Anyway, I think that's it for today. I'm not sure if I will play the game again. Um, maybe I will do it just to get different endings. But the game is actually quite, to me, it wasn't too bad. I think there was a lot of this sort of similar events that happened in the original game. Um, More or less, it follows the sort of same pattern. I struggled a little bit with the combat. I didn't really understand the combat. It's not immediately obvious. Um, I don't know whether you get iframes during the dodging action. I imagine you do at the middle of the dodge, because it looks like some attacks just pass right through me. It's um, but the attack range of enemies are very deceptive. It's not very obvious, and I get it why they do this, because you can move and shoot. Because you can move and shoot, generally they make the attack range of enemies a lot bigger than like a lot. They can hit a lot further than you think, because you can constantly be moving. Although you move slowly, but you can move and shoot, right? So you're constantly spacing yourself further. If they just made it like the traditional way enemies attack you, they will never hit you, right? So in the old games, it's pretty obvious when you get hit, and it's more or less obvious how you dodge, right? You can easily space an attack. You know, okay, this attack's take about this range. But in modern games, because the gameplay is faster, the fact that you can move and shoot, you have all these dodging abilities. Uh, the way enemy attacks, they can be very deceptive in their range, and a lot of times their forward momentum is a lot more than you think. So they carry their attacks heaps more than you think. You're like, whoa, okay, that hit me like halfway across the screen. It sort of happens with Resident Evil 4 Remake as well, because in that game you can move very quickly, you can move and shoot. So, like, the guys with a pitchfork, they can literally just charge across the screen and hit you, you know? And you're like, whoa, that's a long way that you can charge. And they have a very good tracking. And in that game, you can't really dodge, but you can move quickly and you have the ability to parry. But again, that's the way modern games are. While the older games you don't get anything like that, right? You rarely ever get attacks that go all the way across the screen. But anyway, in terms of like in melee combat, it takes a while to get used to. There's no real lock-on system, so if you're up against multiple enemies, it can be very confusing. But you sort of auto lock on onto. I don't know if you do on the nearest target or the weakest target. Usually, it's the nearest target. I wish you could change that, lock onto the weakest or the nearest target. Uh, but in terms of gunplay, right, the gunplay to me wasn't very good. Uh, it's somewhat suboptimal, but that I think that's sort of intended because James is not like an expert using firearms. He's just an ordinary average Joe, right? He's even like I would say a notch below Ethan, right, from Resident Evil 7. So the gunplay is a little bit challenging for me, especially the shotgun. It just does not have the effect like in other games as well. I'm not just comparing to Resident Evil, I'm comparing to other survival horror games. The shotgun seems like it's powerful, but you really, really have to go up and close and get the enemies really center in the shot to have its effect, right? So, yeah. But it is a very scary game. There were lots of places where I just freaked out. The atmosphere is really good. It's very, very ominous all the time. Yeah, and the story is interesting. It explores various different characters. You know, Silent Hill is all about guilt, right? Guilt, forgiveness at the end, hope, loss, despair, all these emotions, right? The other side is like all the negative, as like all representation of some sort of negative emotions in the in people, right? So it's dilapidated, it's like worn down, it's the end. When you have despair, when you have guilt, when you have loss, sort of everything's crumbling and falling apart. You know, the world is very depressing and very dilapidated, right? It's sort of collapsing, right? Whilst the normal side is more hope, uh, um, right? Um, but the game is very scary. Like at certain places, I literally freaked out, and there are places I just, you know, I wasn't sure like um, whether I wanted to continue. Yeah, the atmosphere is pretty good. The fog, the fact that you can't see very much further with a flashlight. To a degree, that's okay, but I get it. They're trying to make the game more scary. But I do like the design of the very tall ceilings. Like the fact you look up, there's just, you know, you can't see the very top of the building. Oh, it takes a long time to look up, and the building is very tall because, you know, something might drop down or some enemies might jump out around the corner. Yeah. Overall, I enjoyed the game. I thought it was a great survival horror game. Um, but the way they, yeah, like people often compare Resident Evil to Silent Hill, but I think the games, they're both survival horror games, and they both set in, have similar settings. You know, even they have similar locations like hospital, which was in, Resident Evil 3. The sewer, for example, the police station. Another common location is a prison, right? All these locations, right? Sort of, they have a common thing between them. But at the same time, the way that they do survival horror is very different. Like Resident Evil tends to do survival horror more on inventory management and and it's more combat focused. It does have a lot of puzzles, but I've always found Resident Evil puzzles are much simpler than Silent Hill puzzles. They're not easier, but they're simpler puzzles. It's pretty obvious. Okay, you got to do this and you got to do this. Silent Hill sometimes like I'm not entirely sure what's happening here, and the way Resident Evil have multi-stage puzzles are generally that you find an item, you complete one puzzle. This gives you a key, unlocks another area, gives you a critical item, and it's one of 3 critical items. Right? Silent Hill does that, but once you slot these critical items in, you still have to solve multi-stages puzzle. For example, with the ballerine figures in the Lakeview Hotel, right? In that sense, you have to then solve multiple puzzles. After that, you still have to put the ballerine, you have to rotate the table in a way that the ballerine dancers sort of moved in the correct fashion, right? So they have more complicated puzzles. They are not more difficult to solve per se, but it's just more complicated. There are multiple steps to them within just a singular puzzle. Yeah, so like Silent Hill to me is more puzzle based, and the enemies are fairly easy to dodge and run away from. Usually you can get past them fairly easily. It's less about combat, more about atmospheric horror, psychological horror, right? And puzzle solving. While Resident Evil is more combat based, but also specifically it deals with aspects of combat along with puzzle solving, right? For example, you always have to manage your inventory in Resident Evil. There's always an inventory management system where you can't just keep carrying items. You know, you can't carry like 50 healing items. Well, in Silent Hill you can. You can carry as much ammo as you want, different types of weapon, whatever. There's no inventory management. Zero. Right? While Resident Evil, there's always an inventory management. You carry these weapons, so you're always under pressure to think, okay, do I go light? Lightly armed, one weapon, one type of ammo, no health, so I can carry a lot of key items and I can get a lot more supplies. Or do I go in armed to the teeth where I only have one slot to carry something, or 2 slots, or very little bit of space, right? And they've been experimenting with different ways of inventory management, right? From the beginning, Resident Evil 1 had a single slot. You have a set amount of slot, but each item takes the same slot. Later on, in Resident Evil 2 and 3, different items take different size slots. So some bigger items take 2 slots. You can increase the size of your slot with backpacks, so you can make your inventory larger. Resident Evil 4 looks at the briefcase system where every item has a different size. You know, some are big, some are medium, some are small, some are very small. Resident Evil 5, you can sort of swap items quickly in and out. Outbreak, you can swap items on the fly. But Outbreak only gives you 4 slots, so it's a different type of inventory management system. Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7, when you manage your inventory, you're in real time, you don't pause the game. So all the games sort of does it slightly different, and it's very heavily focused on inventory management. And I don't think people appreciate how much inventory management you do in Resident Evil games. It's always overlooked because it seems like an obvious thing, but there's actually a lot of planning that you do with inventory management, but you do it, it's not noticed because it's fairly trivial. It's not difficult to say, okay, I take this item out, I have an extra slot, but at the same time there's a lot of things that goes behind behind your brain that you're thinking, okay, I should have 3 slots because I need 2 key items. I need to pick up an extra bit of health, so I should have 3 slots. But it's not overtly complicated. It's not a puzzle you have to really think about, sort of thing, Yeah, the way they do survival horror is very different between the 2 games. So the way you play is very different, right? Because You never need to worry about your setup in Silent Hill. You have all the supplies you ever need, right? Except that one section where you had to put your supply away, right? The But Resident Evil, you always have to think about what weapons to bring for what situation, and what type of ammo to bring as well, because you have different types of ammo which are effective against different types of enemies. Anyway, thanks to everyone for watching. I do appreciate the view. I will cut the stream short because I'm I don't feel like I really want to start New Game Plus. Looks like the title screen has changed. It's like Lakeview Hotel instead of uh, instead of yeah, normal sort of screen. All right. Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.